former three-time MLB All-Star and a current analyst at the MLB Network, Dan Plesac.
Jason, if you want to do this again, postseason edition, you have my number. You call me, we'll get that done.
A lot has changed since we had Dan on back in early August. Here in the MLB, we have narrowed it down to two teams, except one of those teams, the Los Angeles Dodgers, already has 2 games, and they are 2 games away from the greatest spot you could ever be in baseball. To talk about what the Yankees' chances are of coming back in this series, and maybe if the Dodgers could seal it. We're just ahead of Game 3. We will bring on MLB Network analyst, per usual here on Monday Madness, Dan Plesac. Dan, welcome on.
Man, I'll tell you what, I flew cross country. I was out in L.A. for games 1 and 2. That Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam, I've seen some pretty incredible things, but Chase, I have never heard a stadium that loud ever in my life. My rookie year was 1986. I've seen a lot, but that place came unglued when that ball went out of the ballpark from Freddie Freeman.
I mean, we were talking about before the broadcast, that has to go down as one of, if not I wouldn't say the greatest World Series game of all time, but it has to be up there. A walk-off grand slam in Game 1, and what a back-and-forth game it was as well. I think in the history books, the grand slam will be what was remembered, but just a back-and-forth game overall.
Chase, it had a little bit of everything, right? It started out as a nail-biter. Garrett Cole threw the ball really well. The Dodgers kind of picked their way back into that thing to tie it. The Yankees took the lead. It looked like it was going to be safe. And then all of a sudden, Freddie Freeman, a guy who really, up until that point, the only thing he'd done in the postseason, he's hobbling around on that bad ankle, was nothing but he had 1 single, hadn't really driven the ball at all. What does he do? He just back legs one and hits one around 10 rows deep. Then he followed up in Game 2 and hit another home run. So maybe Freddie Freeman's all the way back now.
I think that's kind of having that veteran experience for a while now. Freddie Freeman has been considered and has been one of those top players of baseball, and clearly it showed off. Just, again, explain to me that energy. You were in L.A. for games 1 and 2. You talked about it a little bit. Obviously, you were a player as well. Just explain the electric vibes and the energy that was in LA Stadium.
It was crazy because when that game started, the Dodgers took the lead, right? And as soon as Stanton hit that towering 2-run homer, you could hear a pin drop in that place. It was like, man, it went from, hey, it was madness to all of a sudden it was quiet. And it looked like the Yankees had that one in the bag, right? And there was some tense moments, but all the drama that fulfilled that, right? Like the ball was caught down the line for Verdugo. The runners were moved up, so you have a base open. You intentionally walk Mookie Betts with the base open, and then you get Freddie Freeman. I'm thinking probably the last guy you want to face because he's going to put the ball in play. But the last thing I was thinking of was that he was going to hit a grand slam. And I'm telling you what, the ball wasn't carrying very well that day, the Game 1 of the World Series, even in batting practice. I don't know if it was a heavy marine air, but when he hit that one, Chase, I was in the third base camera. Well, when he hit it, man, I thought that thing was like 40 rows deep. It was a bomb. I mean, it was way gone, but the ball was not carrying. There were several balls in like the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning that were hit by the Dodgers that I thought were really hit well, that were hit to the warning track. So for Freeman to do what he did that late in the night, he really had to catch all that one.
What a crazy game that was, and what a crazy ending to what was, again, already an incredible matchup. The one thing that I think is going unnoticed is that during the 9th inning of that game, the Dodgers intentionally walked Juan Soto to face Aaron Judge, who popped out, got the out. Yankees end up losing. You very rarely intentionally walk the guy who is before possibly the American League MVP. So what does that say about Judge in the postseason, and maybe that he hasn't been the star that he's supposed to be?
No, well, he struggled. And the problem that he's going to have, that Dodgers back into that bullpen, they have a couple of right-handers that can throw hard and they can spin it. Michael Kopech, 98 to 100. And Blake Trinan, this is a guy that has that two-seamer that runs in and that breaking ball that runs away. He's going to present a lot of problems, that being Trinan, for Judge and for Stanton, and he has been. But even he started to look a little bit tired. They had to take him out of that 10th inning the other night because it looked like, he started to lose it there a little bit. And they brought in Vesia, who threw one pitch and got Trevino to fly out, to deep left field. So Trinan's been good. But one of the things that sticks out to me this postseason, these bullpens have been great, but they're showing signs of being tired and being fatigued. We saw that in the Guardians series. their bullpen was the strength of their team. And it started to leak oil in games 4 and games 5. And I think the same thing is going on with the Dodgers right now. They've gone to Trinan a couple of times. The first night he was electric. The second night, I'm not sure, if they would have left him in there, I think the Yankees might have been able to get the lead. Dave Roberts elected to bring in Vesia, for the matchup. And the Yankees pinch hit Trevino, who had yet to have a plate appearance. But Trinan showed signs of being fatigued too. I think both of these teams right now, they're high leverage guys. They're 7th, 8th, and 9th inning guys. They're showing signs of some wear and tear. Though I will say, Luke Weaver threw the ball very well in game 1. I thought he threw the ball really well.
He did, and I think that when you go into November, right? We're near November. The series will probably go to November. It's just these teams are eventually going to get tired. Again, it was that same discussion as you just mentioned that we had with the Guardians, and now it's happening here. Now, look, obviously anything can happen in a series, but down 2-0, and I always felt like when the Yankees had Garrett Cole on the mound, they had to make sure they got that win, and when Yamamoto was on the mound, they had to make sure they got him on an off day. Neither of those things happened. Now they're down 2-0. They go back to New York, but is it time to panic for the Yankees?
Yeah, kind of. As Yogi Berra once say, it's getting late early. They're down 2-0. They've got Clark Schmidt going tonight, game 3 against Walker Buehler. I still don't know which Walker Buehler is going to show up. His last one against the Mets, that's the best he's looked so far that I've seen him. His velocity was back.
He's so shaky. You can't predict.
Well, that's the problem. He's had 2 Tommy John surgery. He missed the majority of the year. And when he came back in late July, early August, he was really on the struggle bus. But each start, Chase, he's been a little bit better. Now, he doesn't have to be great. All he has to do is keep this game in check, because I really feel, as much as I like Luke Weaver, I think the Dodgers bullpen is deeper and better right now than the Yankees. The race for the Yankees is to get length out of their starter and use as minimal amount of guys as they can to get the ball to their back-end guy, Luke Weaver. On the other hand, the Dodgers, they have a lot of different options. Bonda's throwing the ball very well, the lefty. Vesia, who came in and got the save in game 2, is throwing really well. I would assume they're going to try to give Blake Trinan the night off tonight. But the Dodgers bullpen is a little bit deeper than the Yankees. I think this is a must-win for the Yankees. I know it's hard to say, hey, it's 2-0, but I just can't see the Yankees falling down 3 games and beating this Dodgers team 4 games in a row. They're up against it now. Think about it. They've got to win 4 of the next 5 games, and that's not going to be easy for the Yankees to do.
It's not. And I think a lot of people look at a 2-0 deficit and they don't think of it as a major thing. But then when you put it in that perspective, you have only one more game for error essentially over these next 5, and the backs are really against the wall. Now, again, I think the place where you do say, okay, maybe not to panic is the Dodgers won both of their games at home. It's just going to come down, can the Yankees do the same? When you think of it of that logic, you can't really overreact either way. But I think it was really negative that are bad for the Yankees that they weren't able to get a win with Cole starting in game 1. One of the things that I think has changed, though, throughout the Yankees, Heiserman family comments about Anthony Volpe. He was in the leadoff spot for a while, but now he's really struggled. He's 0-for-8 so far in the World Series. Dan, you can see the comment right here, how come Volpe is struggling? Is it because of the inexperience? And do you think Volpe will start to step up here in these final games of the season?
I think a reason why some guys are struggling in the postseason is really simple, Chase. During the course of the season, you can pile up some pretty good numbers when you're facing 3, 4, and 5 starters. And in some games, you're facing long relievers when a game gets out of hand, and you can kind of pad your stats a little bit. You get to the postseason where it is now, and these games are close. Like we've seen even the Yankees series with the Guardians, man, they were using Cade Smith in the 3rd and 4th inning. They were using high leverage guys. So there aren't any easy at bats. You're not facing a number 4 or number 5 starter. You're facing nothing but 1, 2s, and 3s. And the bullpen guys that you're seeing, if the games are relatively close, they're really good. There's a reason the Yankees and the Dodgers are here. They're the best 2 teams left standing right now. They have the best pitching. Now, that pitching is a little bit tired. I thought that last at-bat the other night, Volpe, that he had off of Trinan, he had a really good at-bat. He took some really good pitches. He had a pitch to hit before the at-bat that he struck out there in the 10th inning. He got a 2-2 slider from Trinan that was middle. I mean, it was right down the middle of the plate, and he fouled it straight back. And then the next one was way out of the strike zone, almost in the left-handed hitter's batter's box. But listen, that comes with age, inexperience, first postseason, first World Series. And listen, there's a lot of pressure. Dodgers, Yankees. This isn't like a low key series. This is
Yeah.
behemoth on the West Coast, behemoth on the East Coast. Two storied franchises, and the media builds this up to be a really big deal, and it is a big deal. But
It's the
I
two
think
biggest markets in sports. I mean, LA and New York. I mean, yeah.
it is. And I think in game three, it is so important for the Yankees to get the lead first. I think if the Dodgers score early and take the air out of that balloon in Yankee Stadium and the natives start to get a little restless, and you see some swings and misses, you go to the fourth and fifth inning and you're down 3 or 4 to 1, and you get a couple runners on, the guy strikes out, you're going to start hearing the boos. I think it's really important game three for the Yankees to try to jump out and get to a lead, because it's going to
100%.
be hard for them to play catch up against that Dodger bullpen.
Kind of speaking of Volpe, the question surrounding the Yankees the entire season has been if they have the hitting depth outside of Judge and Soto. Now, Soto stepped up. We've seen that. He's had a great World Series thus far. Aaron Judge has struggled, but I mean, I don't think that's really been their main problem here kind of as they get to the World Series. In game two, though, throughout this postseason run, throughout the end of the season, that theory about not having enough hitting depth seemed incorrect. They had a lot of guys hitting the ball really well, but in game two, they had just 4 hits, and they all came from just 3 guys: Juan Soto, Giancarlo Stanton, and Jazz Chisholm, some of their top hitters. Why do you think the Yankees have all of a sudden just struggled to hit the ball and kind of struggled to find production from other bats when they were easily doing so over the past few months?
Well, I saw Yamamoto pitch in June. He pitched a Friday night when the Dodgers came into Yankee Stadium. I was at that game. I actually sat like one row behind the Dodgers dugout. And that guy that night was electric. I mean, he was 96, 97, power split, power curveball, great slider. And that's the same guy that showed up in game two. I don't know if there were a lot of teams, even the Yankees, that were going to put a lot together. I mean, they had a chance early on. They had some traffic in the first and second inning. But, boy, he started to get to the third, fourth, and fifth, Chase. That 96, 97, that good split finger and that good slider, the Yankees were handcuffed. You can look at it and say, hey, they had 1 hit going into the 8th inning. But a lot of that you have to give credit to Yamamoto. They gave this guy $300 million, Chase. This guy was the most decorated pitcher coming out of Japan. He won several, what would be the equivalent of a Cy Young in Japan. There's a reason they gave him that kind of money. They thought he was going to be their number one. And he was hit with the injury bug, too. He missed a lot of time in July, August, and early part of September. And he's starting to round back into form right now. He was just really good, Chase. So I'm not so sure game two you can point to the Yankees and say, hey, they only had 1 hit. Yamamoto was really good. And listen, when you think about it, the Yankees had a chance there. They had the bases loaded. Jazz Chisholm had a really good at-bat there in the 10th inning, that base hit. And they had a shot. They had a shot to do something. They had the bases loaded, 1 out. If Volpe could get the ball in the air, put it in play, they could have cut it to 4-3 and made that thing really interesting with 2 outs. I think that was the key. When Volpe struck out with 2 outs, it gave the Dodgers a little bit of momentum right there. And then the first pitch that Trevino swung at, I tell you what, I was in the camera well, and he was right on that ball. He just got underneath. I thought when he first hit it, it had a shot to go out. So as bad as it looks for the Yankees, a hit here or there in this series, when you think about it, really the Yankees should have won game 1. Really, some sloppy defensive play, some sloppy play in right field by Juan Soto. He's not the greatest defender, Chase. He rates in the bottom 15 percentile as far as defensive runs saved in right field.
Yeah.
He's an average at best outfielder, right? He's a decent thrower, but he's not a very accurate thrower. And the Dodgers have taken advantage of some miscues, that throwing on the double off the wall by Ohtani, that Gleyber Torres wasn't able to harness that thing. Instead of being a leadoff double, all of a sudden it's Ohtani gets to third base, and then the sacrifice fly by Mookie Betts. The Yankees gave the Dodgers a run there to tie that game up. Yankees should have won game 2.
Let's talk about the bullpen, because I think that was the problem, obviously, for the Yankees when you look at game 1. Obviously, Nestor Cortez allowing the grand slam. And I just think that it's funny in baseball because things can happen so quickly, both good and bad. And it felt like the Yankees struggled in the bullpen throughout the entire regular season. Then they got it together in the playoffs. And I feel like the lineup, as you were just mentioning, it's kind of fallen off here in the postseason. What are the keys to kind of getting this bullpen back to the level they were against Kansas City and against Cleveland?
Well, the bullpen's tired. And to be quite honest with you, I was really surprised they went to Nestor Cortez. You've got Tim Hill out in the back part of that bullpen. He's been nails for the last 2 months. I can understand why, with the 3-batter minimum, you probably don't want him facing a lot of righties, where Cortez, being a starter, what I didn't like about the move was this. He hadn't pitched in a game since September 18th. Now, you could throw all you want on the side and throw simulated games, but there's one thing about throwing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and throwing in a real game when there's men on base in a really tough situation. I was wrong. First pitch, he gets Ohtani to pop up, and I thought, okay, maybe this was the right move. The next pitch, think about this. He came in, Chase. He only threw 2 pitches. He threw a first pitch fastball to Ohtani that he popped up, that everybody took a big sigh of relief, like, oh no, the Yankees are going to hang on and win this thing 3-2. And then the next thing you know, the very next pitch, he threw 2 pitches, a pop up and a grand slam. So it was a rude 2 pitches for Nestor Cortez. I just thought they put him in a really tough spot, having not pitched since September 18th.
Yeah, I think that was rough as well. And clearly Cortez just hasn't been that same player that he could be. A lot of Yankees fans are hoping he could be a high-end starter. Instead, he's not. You put him in the bullpen. Clearly not a good decision. But Dan, we've mentioned it many times just throughout all of our broadcasts. You're a 3-time All-Star yourself, pitching. You've pitched in some crazy environments, as you mentioned. Put yourself in the shoes of a bullpen pitcher on New York, and what are you doing here? Right, your backs are against the wall. You need to make sure that when this game gets to the bullpen, that you pitch well. What's going through your mind in this pregame process to make sure that you're ready to go out there and pitch the best you can be?
Well, you know, what you don't want to do is have bad thoughts start to creep in your mind, right? If you've had a bad outing, you're not throwing the ball real well. It's not a good time right now when you're down in the stretch drive, late September, games mean something October. Now the World Series, you're hoping that you're in that locked in mode, right? Where you get up, you warm up, you take 15, 20 pitches to get loose. They bring you in, you take your 8 warm-ups, and boom, you're ready to go. You don't do a whole lot of thinking. But what happens is these are very high stressful games, right? So you go over scouting reports before a game, how you want to pitch Ohtani, how you want to pitch Betts, how you want to pitch Freeman, how you pitch Teoscar Hernandez. And a lot of times, Chase, the matchup, the stuff that's a strength for you, isn't necessarily a strength with a particular hitter. So you've got to be able to make adjustments on the fly. And particularly in these kind of games, you really have to be able to command your off-speed pitches. Because if you go ball one with a fastball, it's very hard, unless you throw 98 to 100, to come back with a 1-0 or a 2-0 fastball. It's probably going to get hit. So you've got to be able to command a curveball, changeup, or slider. Anything that you could throw off speed to disrupt the timing. It's easier said than done, particularly in a high stress environment.
Yeah, obviously, high stress environment is key. New York is a crazy crowd. It's a crazy environment, and it's in the World Series. You mentioned preparing for Shohei Ohtani. He is in the lineup. He's batting leadoff. Obviously, the huge scare from Game 2 for LA was Shohei going down with an injury. Even if he does play, or not even if he does, he is in the lineup. He will be batting leadoff. Does having him not at 100%, how does that hurt LA's chances of trying to win this series over these next few games?
Well, I mean, it hurts, obviously. You're talking to a guy that had a historic year like we've never seen, 50-50, right? The guy hit 310, 52 home runs, knocked in 130. I mean, he's had a year for the ages. He's more than likely, he's going to win the MVP of the National League. I'm not sure what you do with him right now. That the shoulder that's bothering him is his back shoulder. I would have to I would want to try to keep the ball away from, make him try to reach for the ball, see how he can react to that ball away. If he can go ahead and take that ball away and try to hook it, see if that strength is still in the shoulder. The problem is, you don't want to be the guinea pig like the first batter of the game. If you're Clark Schmidt, say, okay, I want to go try that outer third, see if he can go out there and still hit that ball with authority on the outside part of the plate. And he does. And the next thing you know, it's 1-0. But I think the safe thing to do, pitch him soft away. Make him try to reach and extend. If that shoulder's bother him, don't make it easy for him and try to crowd him and put the ball in on him where all he can do is open up and turn on it. So I would be surprised if they attacked him inside. My plan of attack would be go away, down and away, and maybe, just maybe, he doesn't have the same pop in his bat because that shoulder's bothering. But you're going to know in the first at bat. Like if you're Clark Schmidt right now, you're taking your warm-ups. You've got about 12 minutes before the first pitch, and there's a million things going through your mind. And one thing when that big guy comes up, he's not like He's not your everyday. He's your mom and dad's leadoff hitter, man. This dude, he is a mountain of a man.
Yeah.
He can change a game with one swing. He's not Kenny Lofton. He's not Brett Butler. He's not Willie Randolph. This guy can do some damage. So, as I say, with pitching is this. You have to make sure that the first pitch is the right one, because the second one you might not be able to make a pitch. And I think that's the key out of the bullpen. You have all this data that's going through your mind, right? To score the game, who's on deck, what's his strength. You have to make sure that the first pitch you throw, if you come in with first and third and 2 outs in a 1-run game, that first pitch has to be the right one, because if he hits it in the gap, you might not get a chance to throw a second one. So when you add all that together, that's what makes it so stressful, because these teams are so good. These lineups are both so good. The Yankees are eventually going to hit. I don't think the Walker Buehler we're going to see tonight is the Walker Buehler we saw 2 years ago. I think he'll keep the game in order, but I don't think he's the same guy that he was 98 to 100 with an electric curveball. With that said, though, his last start chase against the Mets, that curveball was back. Now, his velo's down a little bit. He's 94, 95, not 97, 98. But if he has that good curveball, he's going to present a lot of problems for the Yankees.
Yes, he will. But look, in baseball and in sports in general, especially in the postseason, it's because of success is because of unsung heroes and these stars who come up out of nowhere and end up playing a crucial part. For either team, who is that one player that hasn't really stepped up yet? Maybe not besides Aaron Judge, because we know who he is. He's the MVP of the American League. Who's that one guy no one's talking about that can make a major difference here in these next
I think tonight's the night that Anthony Volpe is going to step up and do something big. I do. I think he's going to get some pitches to hit. He hits down in the batting order. As a pitcher, sometimes you take that bottom third of the order. You don't take it as serious as Judge and Stanton and Juan Soto. So you get a little bit of a breather, and sometimes you can get a little careless. He's been great. On the flip side, that guy's been Tommy Edman. I mean, he's presented a lot of problems for the Yankees. He presented problems to the Mets. You have to really be careful with this guy when he hits right-handed. Now, he's going to hit left-handed tonight because Clark Schmidt is pitching. But if you're coming out of the bullpen for the Yankees, you're Nestor Cortez, you better be careful throwing that guy in, because he can hunt a fastball. He turned a good fastball around from Rodon and hit a home run that really kind of broke that game too wide open. Tommy Edman, he kind of hides down in that lineup, but don't, just because he's small, you can't take him for granted.
Yep, and I think that I'm so excited because it's a series where there are so many stars: Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and then obviously we've been talking about the pitching the entire time. But I just think that there are so many guys like an Anthony Volpe that could make such a great difference, and I'm excited to see who those guys are. Game 3 is in less than a half an hour. I love that we're doing this late tonight, especially with the World Series coming up. We're kind of like getting in that game mode, ready to watch what's going to happen. It's in less than half an hour. What are you looking for out of New York? I know you said you want them to get off to a hot start. What are you looking for out of them right out of the gate to get their home crowd into it and to get themselves back in this series?
I wouldn't say it's a must, but close to a must. Clark Schmidt has to pitch a scoreless first inning. If the Dodgers get on the board and score a run or two, that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Walker Buehler pitching with the lead. I think if Clark Schmidt can get out of that first inning, preferably in a perfect world, a clean 1-2-3 inning, that stadium's going to come to life, and then that order is going to roll up. And you know what? And it's a lineup that can hit. Listen. Game 2, Yamamoto was really good. So I give Yamamoto a lot of credit for making the Yankees lineup look a little light that night. But it's imperative that the Yankees score first. The Dodgers get an early lead, 1 or 2-0 in the first 2 innings. They're going to be playing from behind the 8 ball. And I don't know if they can play catch up, because the Dodgers have a lot of weapons in that bullpen. This game 3 for the Yankees is a must win. I don't think there's any way they can beat the Dodgers 4 straight games, because the Dodgers are going to they're going to be able to save Yamamoto, get him on a normal day's rest. Jack Flaherty was really good in game 1 too. Without that home run that Stanton hit, he hung one bad curveball to Stanton for the 2-run homer. This is a must win for the Yankees. If they lose this game 3, they're in deep trouble.
They really are. And that's what I'm kind of going to ask you here, right? Yankees fans know from previous experience, unfortunately for them, against the Boston Red Sox, that it is possible to come back from a 3-0 deficit. But realistically, if LA does take this game, where do you even go there from New York? I assume you go back to Garrett Cole pitching wise, obviously, but what is even the plan? Again, we obviously don't want to look ahead. The Yankees could very well win this game and gain back the momentum, but say this game doesn't go New York's way, what even is the realistic chance that the Yankees are crowned World Series champs?
You know what? If they lose this one, I'm not sure they're going to bring Garrett Cole back on one short day's rest. You know what? I liked what I saw out of him in game one, but that was Friday. So you're going to ask him to come back on 4 days rest. I don't know if the Yankees are going to do that. That may be a bullpen game. Sooner or later, the thing I guess that perplexes me in game two, when that game was 4-1, they elected to go back to the bullpen. Marcus Stroman is almost like a wasted spot on that roster right now. So sooner or later, he's going to have to pitch. And I don't know if
They pay
that's
him
going
so
to be.
much too. It's crazy. Or Don, they pay so much. Stroman, they pay all these guys. It's not working.
It's not working right now, but that can all change if they win game three and get this back to 2-1.
Yes, it can. Now, I heard a stat earlier, and I don't exactly know the credibility of it, but just good to share. In all the 0-2 deficits between the Dodgers and the Yankees in the playoffs, the team that was down ended up winning the series. Dan, for a while, you've had the New York Yankees kind of coming out on top. At first, you had the Philadelphia Phillies. Then you kind of switched to the Yankees. After the Astros and the Orioles got eliminated, you essentially said, this is the Yankees' year to do it. And now they are down 2-0, but the series is far from over as we head to New York. I had New York winning this series. You had New York winning this series. Question here from Arav Kapoor. Thank you so much for the compliment. Will the Dodgers win, or is it likely that the Yankees come away and make the comeback?
Listen, this is a really good Yankee team. And I think getting back at home, playing in front of that home crowd, the Lunatics in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, is what they need. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're going to win tonight. I do. I think that they're going to get to that Dodgers bullpen. I'm not sure Trinan's going to be available tonight. He had pitched games. He pitched Friday and Saturday, had the day off on Sunday. I didn't like the way he looked towards the end of that inning when they had to bring Vesia in. Listen, it's going to be imperative. If the Yankees fall behind early, they're in deep trouble. But I don't think that's going to happen. Clark Schmidt, I think, is going to control this game the first couple of innings, give them a chance to take the lead. I see them winning game three. And as far as forecasting after that, I think if they win game three, the fans and the whole stadium takes a deep breath and they think, okay, we're back in this thing. If they lose this one, Chase, I can't see them beating the Dodgers 4 straight.
I can't see it either. Dan, let's make your final prediction, right? Again, it's hard to predict, especially with so much going on in Major League Baseball. Anything could change at any given moment. Yankees down 2-0. Do they complete the comeback?
Well, we talked a week ago on Monday, and I thought the Yankees would win in 7. It's only 2 games, and it doesn't look good. I get that whole thing. But I'm not giving up on the Yankees just yet. I think somehow, some way, they're going to figure out how to win game 3, and it's going to take a lot of pressure off of them. This series, I still think is going to go 7 games. I'm not backing off the Yankees right now. I mean, I wouldn't want to bet my house on it, but I'm still feeling the Yankees are going to make this a series.
Dan, for the first time, actually, throughout this entire process, we're going to have a different prediction. I was sticking with you with the Phillies. That didn't work. I picked with you with the Yankees. I'm going in a different direction. Down 2-0. I just think the Dodgers have all the momentum. I don't know if the Yankees can regain it. Sometimes you have magic, and the magic just goes away. If Walker Buehler pitches a great game tonight, like I think he may, I just think it shows, not that they're like predestined to win it all, but that like all their question marks are coming together at the right time while the Yankees have been collapsing. The bullpen issues, the hitting depth, etc. Look, I don't want to count out the Yankees either, especially going back to New York. And as an Orioles fan, as we've talked about, I have very little room to talk here with the AL East rival. But I am going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I can't see them blowing it. They have a track record of doing so, and I think they have a chip on their shoulder. They won in 2020, but most people don't really think it was credible. They said 60-game season, and frankly, I'm one of those people. They've had a chip on their shoulder ever since to prove people wrong. I think they do it. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers win the 2024 World Series in what has been a very, very entertaining year of baseball. But Dan, as crazy as it sounds, this is our final Monday Madness where there will actually be games afterwards. This, no matter what happens, will at least end on Saturday, which means when we're back next week, we'll do a World Series recap. We wish you the best of luck here with your MLB Network coverage over these next few games, because I think it is going to be really, really fun between the two biggest marketable brands in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Chase, for your benefit, I hope that nobody sees this replay, because if you want tickets to a Yankee game next year, you better erase this thing right off the bat, big boy, because you're not getting any comp tickets for Yankee games.
No, yeah, 100%. Not right now. Definitely, Sack. Thank you so much. Again, we wish you the best of luck on your coverage. It's going to be a lot of fun. And the audience, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Shout out to the Heiserman family, our top viewer for today, commenting in. Shout out for that comment with Anthony Volpe. Again, you think he's going to be a difference maker. I'm just excited for what the series has in store. Dan, thank you so much.
You got it, Chase. Let's do this next Monday. We're going to talk about how in the world did the Yankees pull this off. I can't wait to do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Dan. Signing off, I'm Chase Coburn. We'll see you next time right here from Chase's Sports News.